Hey everyone, today as part of our career skills introduction series, I'm going to be talking about community building and networking best practices. So to start off, before I get into community building and networking a little bit more, just a reminder that some of the other things you can get support on at Beyond Barnard include advice on general career development, funding for internships, applications to graduate and professional schools, etc. And you can see some key figures on Beyond Barnard since our launch. Yes, so as I mentioned, we're doing a career skills introduction series, and today I'm going to be focusing on the community building aspect of networking, which is a very key skill in building your professional network. So the hope is that by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to identify potential mentors and supporters who can help advance your work. You'll be able to reach out effectively to people to secure mentorship from within your community. You'll be able to approach informational interviews and networking interactions with more confidence and structure. And lastly, you'll be able to think more critically about what the value of building a community is to your career search. And if you leave with nothing else today, remember that building a community of support around yourself, especially in an uncommonly engaged and connected network like Barnard, this can be the single most important ingredient in achieving near and long-term success. And it starts with very small and doable steps that I will be talking about in a moment. So here's the agenda today. So today I'll be starting off with discussing why I think about, the traditional networking as community building instead. So to define what a community of support is, these can be people with shared interests and affinities. They can provide multiple perspectives to address a range of questions you might have. You can have regular ongoing touch points with potential mentors in your community. You'll have the ability to share authentic concerns, challenges, and successes. And these are relationships that you can build trust in your own, that help you build trust in your own ability to process perspectives and triangulate them with others. So I'm going to go over some assumptions that people have versus how you can reframe these assumptions about networking from a community-based perspective. So sometimes people say, I need referrals. I'm not going to get a job if I don't get a referral or have a connection. While sometimes you can uncover jobs through sort of, quote unquote, the hidden market in networking. A way to reframe this from a community-based perspective is to think of it this way. Some organizations do have referral programs, but even then you can still benefit from building a relationship. And what you really need is champions and advocates in your community. Another assumption, you're asking for a big favor, it might be too much of a favor. So yes, referrals are often compensated, but also, you know, what happened to just assuming good intent? You can start off with just assuming good intent. And imagine if you were a postgrad of a couple of years and a student approached you, wouldn't you be inclined to help? A lot of Barnard alums want to help, fellow Barnard students. Well, they know I want the job. I don't have a network like other students. I can only network with X. These are all these are all valid assumptions to be had, and they're part of the reason why networking can seem so scary. But when you think about things from a community-based perspective, that can really help you build your community and assist in networking. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn, what crafting a LinkedIn profile can look like, how easy that can be, and how it can help you out with your career search and building up your network. So, we all know, we all see people doing their I'm thrilled to announce, blah, 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 their posts, etc. But I'm going to encourage you to think about LinkedIn as a little bit more of a powerful tool in your disposal. So let's start off with how you build a LinkedIn profile. You're going to need a profile picture. Most people hesitate on this because they think it needs to be this professional headshot. Obviously, a professional headshot is great, but you can just as easily get a very great LinkedIn profile photo from an iPhone. Put it on portrait mode, have a friend take a picture. There you go. Banner picture, find it on the web. It can be your hometown background, Columbia's background, Barnard, etc. People do all sorts of things. And then your about section will be critical. It's pretty easy to put together. Talk about, what year you are, that you're at Barnard, what you're studying, what your interests are, maybe some of the work you're interested in outside the classroom, what you might be looking for, what kinds of opportunities you'd be open to, and then you can drop your email so that people are aware they can reach out to you. Yeah, so how to start thinking about LinkedIn as a powerful tool. Realize that it converts shared affinity into your community. So it's not just about contacts that can help you get concrete position. It's about connecting with people based on shared backgrounds, identities, majors, student groups you are both a part of or they've previously been a part of. So that's sort of like beginning with what you know. And a great place to start is to always look for alums at institutions that you are applying to, institutions, organizations, nonprofits, etc. There's so many Barnard alums available and willing to talk to Barnard students and work all over the place. So there's a very high likelihood that you'll be able to find a Barnard alum to talk to. Um, Lastly, build out from what you know by reading bios very carefully. And especially at the start, try not to eliminate any leads you might have. Be very open-minded about this. So, one of your first options is to use the Barnard LinkedIn home. Barnard College has their own page on LinkedIn. And as you can see, we have like nearly 25,000 alumni that are visible and available on there. You can filter by major, you can add filters by companies, etc. A good place to start is to start by making a list of like 20 to 25 alums you want to contact that you're going to want to connect with and send a note with, which I'll talk about in a second. And a great place to organize all of this is to start a spreadsheet and track it. See who you've connected to. You can even add a tab to see like who's responded, what have they responded, have we had a coffee chat, etc. So you can also start with a blank LinkedIn search rather than going to the Barnard homepage, where you'll kind of just search maybe say a company, like here on this example, we have Google. And then you can filter by people and turn on the school filter for Barnard College and see the correlation of the alums. Again, like sometimes these filterings can take a while to figure out, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about taking some time to learn that. But this is a great place to sort of connect with Barnard alums working at companies or organizations that you're interested in. And once you make that list that we're talking about, make sure that you reach out to them, connect, and you can have an option when you're connecting to add a note. This is a great opportunity to sort of get started with networking with them, talking with them, building your community. It's a short note, just be like, hi, I see my name is blank. I'm a junior at Barnard studying blank. I see that you're working in here. I'm really interested in learning more. Would you have time for a 20-minute coffee chat? Ask for time to talk. Make sure, like what we always see here at Beyond Barnard is ask for a job, you'll get advice. Ask for advice, you'll get a job. So here's the thing though. LinkedIn, very busy place. People aren't always reading their messages. They're likely to accept your connection. They're just as likely to not reply to your note. But still, once they accept your connection, you have their contact information, you have their email. Reach out to them, follow up via email. You're not being bothersome, you're just networking. Here is an example of what one of these follow-up emails might look like. You can adjust it to your own wording. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about planning for these informational interviews that will occur during these sort of coffee chats and requests for conversation that you ask of people. So remember, these are your conversations to plan and manage. These conversations are primarily beneficial for you. Yes, people you're talking to would love to help you out in your career and they would love to tell you more about how they've gotten to where they are, but it is, this is primarily for you, think about what you can get out of it and how you're going to frame the conversation. You want to set some expectations and you want to follow through on these expectations. So just make sure in preparation for these coffee chats you have when building out your community, you're researching this person's LinkedIn bio, organization, maybe shared connections you have. Don't come just thinking, oh, we're going to have a coffee chat. Come prepared with some questions. Maybe you have a question about their career trajectory or how, what they were thinking when they declared their major versus where they are now, etc. Any advice they have, like come with a set of questions and it'll lend itself to a conversation. Um, So then the meeting itself. So start by resetting some expectations for the conversation, express your gratitude, restate your agenda, say like, hi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. As I mentioned in my email, I'm really hoping to discuss X and X and learn a little bit more about X and X. There you are setting the agenda and some expectations. So, deliver on these expectations by moving through the agenda. Maybe you want to know their career path from Barnard. And you can even talk about your current status, pursuits, interests, if you want advice. And, the more you do this, the easier it'll get. A really great way to frame this is really to think about like, this is an opportunity for you to learn. There isn't the same stress that you might feel in a behavioral interview for a job. So here's here's where you want to think. You're making a concrete ask and you're going from, interesting to instrumental. So, say that you have about 5 minutes to go. These are 1 to 3 asks that you can easily execute. And you can deliver on expectations by moving through the agenda. So think about, what do you like to see from candidates who you refer? Can I send you my resume? Can you help me get it out of just the Barnard network? Can I follow up in a few months? Can I mention this meeting in a cover letter, etc.? Like, these are all ways that you can get into having like a little bit of an ask. Lastly, I'm just going to sum up sort of 5 tactical tips to get you started in community building and reframing networking as community building in your mind. So first, after I've talked about LinkedIn, go into your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have one, create one using the steps I've said. Start connecting with your friends, people you've gone to high school with, that you go to Barnard with, etc., people you've worked with. Use the format presented here. Start identifying other potential outreaches at companies or organizations that you would like to work at. And then start with that spreadsheet. Start pulling people, making lists of contacts. You can start small. You don't have to go big. Secure 2 to 3 informational interviews. Reach out, ask for that coffee chat over Zoom or in person. Another critical thing is joining Barnard Connect. So some of you might know what Barnard Connect is, but for those of you who don't, it is essentially LinkedIn, but just for Barnard. So Barnard alums have opted onto being here, and they're far more likely to respond, and it is essentially LinkedIn just for Barnard. You can, there's a button called Explore the Community, and you can kind of, when you're setting up your profile, you can set up what your interests are, etc., and they'll point out people per your interests. And the more you use it, the more the algorithm will adjust. But it's a really great chance for you to reach out to people and increase your likelihood of having a higher response rate. And it is a great way to get alums who are really willing to help you and to get those informational interviews secured. And you can find Barnard Connect by just going on Google and searching Barnard Connect. It'll be like the first thing that pops up, and you just sign in and sign up with your uni and Duo. Another thing you can do is schedule an appointment with a peer career advisor or a full-time staff member to prepare for what an informational interview might look like and what you might want to set as the agenda, the expectations, and your asks. A bonus 6th step is tell a friend about this presentation and talk to others about using Beyond Barnard and how helpful it hopefully was to you. Seeing as we are doing a recording, there aren't questions, but please reach out to Beyond Barnard with any questions. Follow us on Instagram. Sign up for the BB Weekly newsletter in your inboxes. And, as I mentioned, sign up for an appointment. Thank you.